Hey everyone, it's been a minute. I had mentioned, by the way, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. I had mentioned in one of my past videos that I was considering doing a retro line, and this is kind of a retro mod, this particular thing that I'm building right now. Just so you know, I'm a big time fan of the Stoner platform. I've studied Eugene Stoner. His basically his education, his career with Fairchild Engineering, which was Armalite, and all the different situations as far as what led him to the AR platform and the AR-15, which was the 15th rendition of the Armalite rifle number 15. This right here, I wanted a rifle, not just one that I could build for a kind of like an actual 100% correct clone, one that I really wouldn't want to abuse. I mean, they're all tools, let's face it, but I wanted to build one that I could use on a day-to-day basis and actually build it to a purpose where I could, if I needed to count on this rifle, I could use this rifle in a nutshell. So this upper I had just assembled, and every part of it I have thought out, taking what I thought was the best attributes of the original and incorporating them with some of the improvements that had happened over the lifespan of this platform, which is over 60 years old now. Anyhow, this is my take on it because this is one that I'm actually going to drag through the mud with me, and I really think I'm going to be enjoying this. Anyway, without further ado, what we have here is what looks like an M16A1 upper. It is for the most part. It's all reproduction. I don't believe there's any original parts in this whatsoever. But we'll start at what isn't M16A1 correct. The delta ring. The slip ring right here is the A2 style. It's tapered. And that's because if any of you were ever in the military and you're ever trying to get a hold of that ridiculous original M16A1 slip ring, there was nothing. It was just flat. This was a good innovation. In my opinion, it is absolutely useful because it's tapered. You can get a hold of it. You have more purchase. You can pull back on it. This is tight as hell because the weld spring's brand new. But anyway, you have more of a chance of getting this when you set this into your lap or whatever and you pull back on it. You're going to get that off a lot easier than the other flat slip ring. So I use that on the Delta pack. The other thing I used an A2 or a modern port door with the larger weight on it. Now, I don't know if for anybody out there who doesn't know what this was actually for, it wasn't so the door would swing open faster or easier. This was made so it would pivot on the magwell fence. If you had open receivers and this should happen to have been open, so when you opened it, that would act like a fulcrum up against the lower receiver, and this wouldn't get trapped or bound into the lower receiver when you were trying to close the two halves together. So I had used that also. I used a reproduction teardrop forward assist, reproduction upper. Let me reverse gears a little bit. The other thing that I used that was M16A2 or A4 was the flash suppressor. Vents on the top, nothing on the bottom for prone shooting. And I also used a crush washer to time that, obviously, to time that properly. The other thing is the hand guards. The hand guards are Charlie's Customs, and Charlie's Customs, these are the bomb. They are super, super strong. They have heat shields on the inside. I don't know if you can see how thick that they are, but they're thick, and you can see the fit is phenomenal on these right here. Absolutely phenomenal. The finish, I mean, it's good enough, especially if you make it something like a retro mod type of not an exact clone. I mean, you could refinish them if you wanted to, but for me, this is not for that purpose. It's all reproduction, and this is super high quality. These are far better than the original ones. I mean, there's no... Look at this. I'm trying to move them, and they don't creak, they don't move, nothing. They're super solid. Okay, reproduction barrel and front sight post, non-F-mark front sight base. This is a Brownells 1 in 12 chrome line barrel with chrome chamber. The upper receiver, you see. Can you see the forge markings? CH. Now, for anyone who knows, that's usually a Colt forge marking. But this is a reproduction from Dirty Birds, and you can see there's no flashing. There's no flashing on it all. All the forge flashing that's usually in here are up here. Not there. They finish it off really nice. So that wouldn't be correct, but it's just, I know in the original 601s they did this kind of a treatment to the front sight tower, but whatever. But that's a pretty cool touch, the CH right over there. I think I made a mistake. If I had already spoken and said there was nothing original Colt on this, I'm wrong. The rear sight, just the aperture, that rear sight aperture is actually, that is an original Colt M16A1 rear sight aperture, because I actually measured with a set of calipers, the ones that you would get from other aftermarket companies. Let me see, can I get that to focus? Maybe not. Anyway, bottom line is, the measurements on these are a little different. So I would imagine that Colt knew how to make the rifle accurate. And I had some problems getting really good zeroing with the aftermarket sights. So I opted to get to Apex parts, and I sourced out a couple of original M16A1 Colt rear sight apertures. The rest, the screw, the adjustment screw, the drum, those are all Dirty Bird or aftermarket reproduction, and they look really good and they work. When I first put this together, it was really tight, but it's nice now. But anyway, the bottom line is, and here you go. See if I can get a little light inside of there. There's your gas tube. It's lined up perfectly. You know, this is the first barrel assembly that I actually, I barreled this, and the damn thing, can I get that in there? No. Everything lined up perfectly. When I installed the gas tube, I literally tightened the barrel 3 times to, what was it, 30 foot-pounds. Backed it off, tightened it just to season the threads, and of course I put on anti-seize compound. And then I brought it up to 40 foot-pounds, and it was almost there. All of the holes to line up the gas tube. And so then all I did was just manually, then I pushed it just a little bit more, and everything lined, it's perfectly centered, and the gas tube moved around freely inside. There was no binding whatsoever, and it's perfect. So I'm at around 45 foot-pounds for my final torque setting on the barrel. They say go up to 80. Has anybody tried to push one of these to 80 foot-pounds? My God. I mean, it's just, you have to be Hercules to be able to push that to 80 foot-pounds, or have a gigantic long breaker bar or something like that. Anyhow, this is what I'm working on right now, and was thinking about a lower receiver, and I was going to get an H&R lower receiver, but then I said, you know something, why am I going to spend $150 plus shipping plus FFL transfer on something that I'm not actually making 100% correct? Why am I going to go through that trouble? So, and obviously the A1 lowers, since this is going to be a more field-friendly, usable rifle, everyone, let's face it, they are structurally a little less strong than the A2 lowers. So, after looking around, I said to myself, I looked everywhere. I went down to a local Rural King, and they had, let me put this aside for a second. They had one Anderson lower. $60, and then they charge you like a $5 FFL transfer fee plus 6% tax, so it was like $64. But so yeah, okay, for all the people that are gonna say you settled for the poverty pony, I've heard that one before. If I can get this out of there, put this aside. Okay, so here you go. I mean, it's the first thing I was concerned about was the magazine fitment into the magwell. And I was concerned because 5 years ago I bought one of these to like I actually reprofiled for my 604, a 601 build, and the magwell was out of spec, and I actually had to reprofile the magwell a little bit. Then I, of course, refinished the whole receiver. It was a pain in the you know what, because it was just it was out of spec, and there was a lot of people complaining about out of spec, and they seem to have straightened that out. I'll show you. First, let me show you the quality of this right here. It's just dirt. I mean, the machining is beautiful on this. So, Anderson, I'm going to say excellent job fixing the product. Look at the pocket. I mean, it's nice. The machining's beautiful in here. The magwell. Right? See how well you can see that? I mean, they just did a really nice job. All the holes, I mean, everything. It's just very well done. Put this thing aside. It's very well finished. I mean, there's no blemishes on this. Not that I care, because it's going to get scratched. This literally is going to be dragged on the ground. I mean, everything's beautiful. They did a nice job. But the big test was this for me. Had to find out. So I have a sampling of magazines to fit inside of the magazine well. This is the first thing I did as soon as I pulled it out of the package. And what do I got? 2 USGI style, and I'll get into that in a second. These are actually ASC magazines, but I'll get into that in a second. Let me just put that aside. It's a whole nother thing. Those are basically the same magazine for the most part. Got a hex mag, another hex mag. This one was modified. I sanded it down a little bit on the sides to fit properly. Then you got a P mag Gen 3, right? So my big thing was when I first had one of these that no polymer magazine would fit without binding inside of the magwell. So of course, let's go to, this is actually an ASC magazine that I modified, but like I said, I'll get to that in a second. Insert this. Perfect. I mean, you can go through the whole thing, right? Goes in perfectly. Lines up perfectly. No problem. Here's the other ASC mag, dimensionally the same. Go right to the top. Beautiful, beautiful, right? Then drops out. Now, PMAG Gen 3. Nice. My other Anderson low when I first got it, that would not happen. I mean, with the PMags, they would kind of drop free, but they were still snug. But this is nice. You can hear that it's got a little wiggle room in it, which is what you want. Okay, next. Hex mag. Ready? It goes in, but you got to push it in there. That's just, look at that. That's ridiculous. It's not the receiver. I'm not blaming the receiver on this. This is completely hex mag. All of my hex mags do this. with the majority of all my AR lowers, okay? And you can see there's the rub points right there, right there. You can see the friction points. Right back here. And right here in this. These magazines are not USGI spec. I don't know what kind of receivers they're making these for, but I took one, did some sanding on it, and actually refinished it gray so it would match one of my gray lowers better. I mean, so other than that, I mean, they've got great anti-tilt followers. There's no tilt on the followers. They're great. So this one I modified. I just sanded down those friction points on it. And now, there you go. I mean, but is it worth doing that to your magazines? That's just because I pushed it up to the... They've got like an anti-over insertion tab right there. But the bottom line is, once it's up right there, that's where it's supposed to go, where it locks into the mag catch. It comes out. But you got to spend time on it. But it's a good mag. If you can get them on special, they work great. They're not as good as P-mags. I don't care what anybody says. They're a little thinner. Excuse me, but they don't work as good. So this one needs some work. Now, that being said, I'm going to put this aside for a second. I'm going to show you what I did to make basically my own reproduction, like the Colt, almost like the Colt 20 round, kind of the Colt 20 round look. It's got a nice gray finish on it. This is actually a dry moly lube finish on it. And this is a reproduction. Oh, God, what was the name of the company? Let me see. That's a reproduction aluminum follower. And that was by, let me see, my goodness. I think it is, what the heck is that? Oh my God, I can't remember it. Huh. I'm trying to think. I'm dumbfounded right now. JTM. Who was that from? I forget. How come say JTM Incorporated? It is. Oh well, I'll have to try to look that up for you. But there's a place online. If you Google the reproduction followers, you'll come up with it. Now, this is what I like about this. And first, let me show you the original one. These were the same mags when I started out, okay? Now, if you go way back here and push down, it's good. But if you go up here and you push down in the front, see if you can see it. It's binding. It tilts and it jams. And actually, when I took these two mags out and tested them side by side, live fire, when I originally closed the bolt on this magazine, the first round actually got caught on the feed ramps, and it actually did jam. I had to clear the rifle and start over again. See that? Even if you put it in your finger halfway, you got to go way back here. Now everybody's gonna say it's a straight magazine. It's gonna feed up, and that's true for the most part. But I don't know why they can't do that. How come right here this manufacturer was it ASC? How come they can't do it? But you get someone like HexMag. Now I know it's got a little curve to it, but that goes down a little bit, but it doesn't bind. Okay. Now, like I said before, this was this mag before. I broke it down, took these aftermarket followers. I did polish them with some some steel wool, I'm sorry. Took any little burrs off of them, and they don't come perfect. You're going to have to polish them up. But look, right in the front. Right to the front. Perfect. Up and down. They don't nosedive in the magazines, and to me that makes all the world of difference. All right. And then the body, it was, obviously I disassembled this and I refinished it with the CRC dry moly lube. And this, it's a little shiny now. First when the dry moly lube goes on, it's more of a flat finish, but I just buffed it up with a rag afterwards just to kind of make everything uniform. But it looks nice. It looks pretty damn close to an original Colt 20 rounder, and it functions exactly the same construction and everything. So I'll show you the product just so you know what it is if you want to do it for yourself. It's CRC dry moly lube, and it's not cheap. It's over $22 a can. Now, the last time I bought a can of this, it was about $6 or $7. That was a long time ago. But this is it. CRC dry moly lube. And it's great. Non-conductive dry film, ideal for high temperature and pressure. I would say if you're going to use it, make sure you're outside and well ventilated. This stuff stinks to high hell. But you put a light coat on this, and it actually bonds. I would clean this with like a 90% alcohol first. You don't even have to scuff it up. And you go from this to this. But anyway, all that aside, the magazines, always make sure your magazines fit and function properly. Always check your mag well. Now, I'm just glad Anderson finally squared this away. You don't need that anymore either. So we got this as a work in progress. This is what's happening. Let me make these things together real quick. Maybe we can get a... There you go. There's a... Nope, hold on. Almost fell off. There's a preview. There's your dry fit. That fits together, I would say, pretty nicely. That is a very nice fit. So there's a preview of what's to come. And I've got a shipment from Brownells coming in with the Chrome M16 bolt group. And I also have from AR15discount.com. I have a kit coming to, I obviously have some spare parts, but I have some like a lower parts kit without the trigger group coming in for all the other parts like the mag release and the bolt hold open and whatnot. And also I have my own pistol grip already. I have my own safety selector. I'm going to put in an ambi safety selector on it. And I ordered from AR15 Discount also a nickel Teflon coated lower parts kit. And I'm just going to do a minor polish job on that also. I figured, why not? I think that the whole kit was about, was it like $34 on sale? And that came with reduced power springs, which I will not be using. I will not be using it. I don't use reduced power springs on anything that's a service grade rifle. I use GI spec. You don't want to promote light primer strikes, So anyway, that's where we are right now, folks. And if you have any suggestions or questions, please, by all means, let me know. Leave your comments down below in the comment section. And I really appreciate you watching again. And if you would want to see more of this kind of content and watch the progress, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And thumbs up always is appreciated. You guys are the best. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to me drone on a little bit. And if you want to see more of this stuff and you want to see this build come along, hit that notification button and stand by, because part 2 will be coming up in the next few days. Thanks again for watching. Have a great rest of your day.